on this session. And if I go ahead and record this, then I'll be able to go ahead and send this on to you, Myra, or to somebody else. And that way everybody can have a chance to take a look at that later on. So I think we're ready to go ahead and get started. I'm going to keep looking at the chat box in the meantime to see if there's anything, any questions that pop up. And I do want to allow a lot of time for questions at the end for anything that happens to come up. That would be great. That sounds wonderful. Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. I'm Cynthia Kane, and I'm very happy to have a chance to join you here from Emporia. I'm actually joining you from my house. I'm sorry that I'm not able to be there in person today. I had some things come up that I had to take care of here in Emporia, but I am really happy that I can join with you in this way for your new PhD cohort group. Welcome. We're so happy to have you as a part of us. Some of you may be basically alums of Emporia State University, and others of you may be totally new to ESU, totally new to Kansas, to the Kansas City area, everything else. Regardless of whether you are new or returning, what I want to do today is give you a good quick overview, not only of our library's webpage, but also a lot of resources that I think are going to be very helpful for you, both at the beginning of your PhD program and as you start to get closer a few years from now, when you start thinking about a dissertation proposal, what you want to research, what you want to get into a little bit more specifically. I'm going to be getting into some resources that will be a little bit more targeted and focused for you all as PhD students as we go along. And I'm also going to basically show you how you can get access to resources and to information no matter where you happen to be, whether you're here in Kansas or whether you just flew in and then you're going to be flying back to your home area. One of the first things I do want to emphasize is that I am the librarian liaison for the School of Library and Information Management. So what does that mean? That means that I am your resource. Basically, I'm your personal librarian, and I want you to think of me that way. I will make sure that you have my contact information today before we finish. And I really want you to feel free to contact me and ask me any questions that you have as you go along with this program. When we finish today, you may feel a little bit overwhelmed with information and think, I don't really have any questions right now. That will probably change because our questions really do not arise until we actually start researching information and thinking about what it is that we want to focus on a little bit more specifically. So that's what I'm here for. By the way, I'm going to do a quick plug as well. What I'm using right now is something called Zoom to share my screen with you, and I'm going to be sharing my screen in just a few minutes so that you can see our resources and other things that I want to focus on for today. If you have questions and you're not physically in Emporia or it's just not convenient, I can always set up this kind of Zoom research appointment with you. We can chat back and forth. We can share our screens back and forth. So always remember that this is yet another way of asking me and then having me help you with whatever it is that you need. But without further ado, we are going to get into some of our resources. Are you all able to see then this screen that says Emporia State University? And I know that we're going to kind of be dependent on our chat now, so I'm going to click here. Great. The first thing I want to show you, and I'm going to be speaking a little bit slowly because sometimes the sound on Zoom can cut in and out a little bit, and I really don't want that to happen. Right now, we are at the Emporia State University's webpage, basically www.emporia.edu. There is more than one way of getting to our library's webpage. So, for example, you happen to be the main university's webpage, and if you scroll down to the very bottom of the page, you are going to see a link. This is Libraries and Archives. On click way of getting to our library's webpage. If you're already in Canvas for any of your courses for the PhD program, in Canvas, you're going to see a link toward the left of the screen, no matter where you happen to be in Kansas, and that particular link is going to say Libraries and Archives. So if you click on that link when you're in Canvas for any of your courses, it will also take you back here to the library's webpage. And another quick way to our library's webpage is simply to type library.emporia.edu. So there's more than one way. You just might want to go ahead and bookmark this page. Now, I'm actually going to leave these two tabs open for our library's webpage. This is going to make a little bit more sense as we go along today. One thing that I want to emphasize right off the bat is that with our library's homepage, we have several tabs here toward the top of the page. Discovery Search, Databases, Journals, Primary Research Guides. We're going to look at all four of these tabs today because each one will do something just a little bit different. If you're working in a library, or if you have a library background, this part may sound a little bit familiar to you. Our library catalog, in other words, the catalog we're going to use to provide books and any other items that are owned physically by William Allen Library, will be used and found in this tab that's called Discovery Search. So I'm not really calling it a library catalog, but if you want to find books that are owned by William Allen White Library, this is the tab that you want to use. Well, I have a particular interest in assessment as it comes to academic libraries. So I want to see what we have in our library that has to do with academic libraries and assessment. And Dr. Dow is going to be very familiar with this as well because she and I have had some very good discussions about assessment of academic libraries, information literacy, and the like. Well, the reason I wanted to do this is twofold. Number one, I wanted to show you how to use our catalog. But number two, I want to show you how you can gain access to physical materials if you are not physically in Emporia. And I dare say most of you are not going to be physically in Emporia. You're going to be coming from a lot of different places. You do a search in our catalog for a keyword search, such as academic libraries and assessment. This is an example of types of sources that you're going to find. Now, at this particular point in time, we really don't have a lot of electronic books or ebooks that are available for anyone. We hope to change this because ebooks are really where you need to be when you're not physically on a campus and you really want to be able to read books no matter where. So hopefully that will change in the future. Right now, these are basically just going to be physical books. Number two, Thrive the Future, Academic Libraries, Quality, and Assessment. Now, you'll notice down here that there are some things or some parts of information that would be really important, especially if I were physically in William Allen White Library. This is located on deck 1 of our library. There's the call number. And of course, the most important part, is it available in our library? We're going to go ahead and click on complete record or the complete link for this. This tells me a little bit more information about this. But remember, I mentioned that if you're not physically in our library, this isn't going to do you much good because there really isn't a good way right now of reading this book online. So one thing I want to tell you about just right off the bat is that you can email this particular record to yourself just to save it for future reference. If you click on Cite, this is something I'm going to be covering in just a second too with some other sources of information. I could format this citation for the American Psychological Association or APA format, and I could copy and paste this citation. Now, Dr. Dow and I have had many conversations over the years about this, and this is something I really want to highlight. Different databases, we're going to see this in a couple of databases in just a second, have ways of taking your information and then converting it into a specific citation format, such as APA or MLA or Chicago Manual of Style. These are not always going to be correct. And this becomes especially crucial when I'm dealing with freshman students who are writing research papers for Composition 1 or Composition 2, and they can get really frustrated. This is a really good example of one that is somewhat correct, but not entirely. For example, you see that http catdirectory.loc.gov. That's really not going to be part of what you want for your citation. I think that is a link to the table of contents of this specific book. So what I could do is just highlight the part that I marked right there, and I could paste that into a bibliography, but I'm still probably going to have to do some tweaking on the formatting to get it into the APA format. So that's something that I do want you to keep in mind. And as our time allows today, I do want to show you another source of information or another way of citing using a software program called Zotero. And this is the way that you can save also your citations as you go along. So we'll be coming back to that in just a second. As I mentioned, though, this is one that I might like to have, but I actually can't get to it if I'm not on the Emporia campus. Not to worry. Because if you are not physically on the Emporia campus, you can request through this link called Request an Interlibrary Loan. Through a source or a system called Elliot. And with Elliot, I can copy and paste information about a book or an article. I can ask that that particular book, if it's owned by our library, that it be mailed to my home. So what I could do is use what I found, that one tab for that book. You click on New Request for a Book, and I could go back and forth, and I could actually copy and paste the information about the author, the title of the book. If you do this with a book that you find through our catalog, through our discovery search, down here, we have our notes field. If you would indicate that you are a distance education student through SLIM, that's another trigger to us that will tell us that that book does indeed need to be mailed to you. Now, I've had a lot of interlibrary loan requests before, so when I logged in with my buzzing username and password just a few seconds ago, and I know I did it really quickly, this took me directly into the Elliott system. If you're completely new to ESU and you've never done interlibrary loan through our system before through Elliott, you will be asked, when you click on the interlibrary loan link for the first time, you will be asked to enter some personal information about yourself, including your mailing address, your student ID through g.emporia.edu, and so forth. And you only have to do that once. After that, when you click on the interlibrary loan link, you will be taken directly to this main menu where we started. Please use our interlibrary loan system. You are PhD students. I can pretty much guarantee as you start getting a little bit more into your program that there's going to be a lot that probably is not going to be available through William Allen White Library, but that we can get to you from other libraries. So definitely take advantage of that. And we want to make sure that you know that that is indeed available. Well, I just wanted to show you that with our discovery search, that can be a really good way of finding books. I'm going to warn you about something before we go to get into another tab. The discovery search is going to pull up a little bit more than just books. Discovery search is also going to pull up actually articles as well. I do not want you, and I don't like to use the discovery search to find articles from our library. That sounds kind of strange. reason is that the discovery doesn't really work that well when it comes to articles. It might make you think, for example, that the full text of an article is available, but it actually is not. So when you want to find articles, research-based articles, peer-reviewed journals, and the like, go to this next tab called Databases. I'm going to show you a few databases here that hopefully are going to be a little bit more geared to you all as PhD students, particularly in terms of research and a little bit more detailed for what you're going to need. If you are getting ready to study anything that has anything remotely to do with library and information science, I encourage you to use Library Literature and Information Science full text database. But we have a lot of other resources too, and I'm going to show you in just a second how you can explore some of those. The Library Literature and Information Science database is going to give you a lot of full text of peer-reviewed journals about all aspects of library science, information management, and the like. Notice on this screen, when I click on that link for the database, it's asking me to sign in with my BuzzIn username and password. And this is actually why I like to do a session here at home when I'm doing a Zoom session. This is what you're going to get whenever you are off campus or logging in remotely. And this just simply will authenticate you as a currently enrolled Emporia State University student. Now, as long as I do not close this browser and get out of my browser search completely, I go from one database to another, I should not have to log in again with my BuzzIn username and password. So that's kind of a nice way of saving yourself a little bit of time. Particularly at the PhD level, I always go to an advanced search in any type of database, because an advanced search will let you drill down and get terribly precise on anything that you're going to be looking for a topic or your field of study. Now, one way I like to limit a search when I'm in a database, if I'm searching by certain words or keywords again, such as I did with academic libraries and assessment, notice that I changed those first two fields to abstract. Well, the reason that I did that is that I want my keywords to appear in the abstract or the summary of an article rather than just everywhere in the full text of an article. This is one way that you can narrow and focus your search a little bit more precisely right off the bat. There are other ways that you can narrow your search a little bit more too. For example, down here, I'll always limit my search to scholarly or peer-reviewed journals, unless for some reason I want to do a very extensive search. Most of the time, I'm looking for those types of journals that are going to be much more scientific, much more professional in nature. Now, you can limit your results also just to the full text. Don't do that. And I always warn people about this, even when I'm dealing with undergraduate students. The reason is that no database, unless it is guaranteed to be this way, like JSTOR or Project Muse, are good examples of full text databases. No database other than those are really going to be 100% full text. It just simply does not happen that way. But especially where you are right now in your schooling, you do not want to rule out any references or citations to articles that could be potentially useful, because it may not be full text in one database, but the chances are pretty good that either we can find them full text in another database, I'm going to show you that as well, or, again, if we cannot find the full text anywhere accessible through our library, you can do an interlibrary loan request for that article. So don't limit to full text. Back up here, I'm going to do academic libraries again. You notice that it's giving you some suggestions. And this is when you don't want to do what I did. For some reason, when I clicked on outside that field, started me all over again, and I don't want that. Let's do that again. So it's giving you some suggestions for words, kind of like Google does if you type a search in Google. We're going to be doing academic libraries and assessment. Limit that again to scholarly peer-reviewed journals, because I think I lost that limit. There we go. That's again, just scholarly peer-reviewed journals. I have 149 references for articles. And as I mentioned, this first one, Reflecting the Science of Instruction, this is one that's from something called the Journal of Academic Librarianship, but you notice that the full text is not available immediately. We're going to come back to that one. This second one looks very promising. Room for Improvement, Priorities in Academic Library Strategic Plans. That's probably one that I need to read, Dr. Dow. I think I probably will save that for my own reference. Now, this says that the linked full text is available. Let's click on that. What happened in this particular instance is that the Journal of Library Administration was actually available probably in another resource outside the Library Literature Full Text database, and that's why it said it was linked full text. But look what it did. It came up with the full text, the PDF. And that is wonderful to be able to see. I can save that, print that out if I have my own printer. There's just a lot of things that I can do with that. So that's kind of neat to be able to see. I'm just moving that for just a second, by the way, so I could see that screen a little bit better. So I could go back. There we go. And you see that there are some other possibilities here. There's one on record number 4 that has the complete PDF full text. I have a lot of good ones here. Well, let's go back up to record number 1. Because again, record number 1 is a good example of one that does not have that linked full text available. Notice that there is a place that says interlibrary loan this item, but I don't want you to do this at this particular point in time. This is what I would like for you to do first. I mentioned at the beginning that I'm keeping this first tab open with the library's webpage. I generally, when I'm doing a search, always keep an extra tab open back to the library's webpage, and this is the reason why I do this. Don't want to lose this search. But what I am doing, I'm going to test my copy and paste skills here. Just copy the name of the journal. Now notice I'm not copying anything else. Didn't copy the article title, and I also didn't copy the issue number or the year or anything. We're focusing right now on the title of the journal, because what we want to do now is go back over here to our library's webpage. And now we're going to click on this third tab called Journals. And I want to paste as plain text the title of the journal, Journal of Academic Librarianship. We're going to click on this now. This is a good example of one that actually has 2 choices. The first choice is going to be for the e-journal of the Journal of Academic Librarianship, the electronic access. This link shows that we actually do have print copies of the Journal of Academic Librarianship in William Allen White Library. I do have a choice for an e-journal format. I'm going to click on that one first. And this is telling me that the Journal of Academic Librarianship is actually available in several databases or collections. I can go to a collection called Science Direct, actually electronic journals that we subscribe to separately. There's also one that says that it's available through something called the Professional Development Collection. This is when you want to go back to your result list and check very carefully to see the year and the month that you need. This article is going to be from May of 2016. So since this is from May of 2016, I don't want to use this particular full text for Professional Development Collection because that's only available up to 2004. So really look at the coverage carefully, because it's very disappointing if you think the full text of an article is going to be available and then you look again and you realize that it doesn't quite cover the year that you need. But this one is looking pretty promising. So we're going to click on this link for the Journal of Academic Librarianship. And we're going to go over here to May of 2016. This is probably one of my favorite journals, by the way. If you are interested in specializing in academic libraries, I highly recommend this one. And as we go through here, it was called Reflecting the Science of Instruction. And there's the PDF. So again, even if that full text isn't available in that specific database, don't rule it out completely. Copy and paste the name of the journal, go back to a Journals tab on our library's webpage, and because the chances are actually pretty good that you'll be able to find that. So, that's kind of a good success story. Go back to this link, and back to the library's webpage. There are a couple of things that I want you to be aware of at the PhD level in particular. For students that are getting their Master of Library Science degrees, I encourage them to focus on databases such as the Library Literature Database, LISTA, which is Library Information Science Abstracts. It's also a very good one to use. At your level, I want you to be aware of a couple of other ways of searching, because I would venture to say that when you get to the point that you're selecting your topics for your dissertation proposals and then eventually for your dissertations, it's probably going to be much more interdisciplinary than just a fairly narrow aspect of the library and information science field. Because of that possibility, I encourage you, when you're at the databases link in our webpage, to click on this drop-down field for all subjects. The reason I encourage you to do that is that depending on what you become interested in later on, we have a host of other databases that may overlap with the subjects or the disciplines that you will want to take a look at. The example that I can give you, Dr. Bob will be very familiar with this as well, is in the field of psychology. So let's say, let me go back up here and stay with this. Let's say, for example, that I might want to do a little bit more research and maybe do some focus groups, do some quantitative as well as qualitative research on people's comfort level, or maybe students' comfort level with asking questions, or approachability, maybe approachability of the reference text or the approachability of a librarian. I will be able to find a lot of good information about that in a library science database, but I also might want to get into psychological aspects, maybe approachability in general, hesitancy to ask questions, anything like that. In that particular instance, I might want to go to a database called PsycInfo. And you'll notice, again, I'm going to go to an advanced search. You'll notice that I didn't have to log back in with my BuzzIn username and password, because again, I've not exited my browser. I'm basically in the same browser session. The PsycInfo database would be a good example of how I could overlap maybe some interest levels. So if I typed in approachability, and do approachability in adolescence. Because again, I might want to find a little bit more of a broad overview that I could apply to library and information science. Now, this one didn't actually work out too well because I only found one result, but I still might be able to find something that could overlap with my particular information need. One thing I did want to show you, and this will take place both in Psych Info and when I go back to this tab, I'm still in my Library Literature and Information Science full text search. When I am in complete record for an article, depending upon the way the database works, I can do called a cite feature. This is what I did in that discovery search just a few minutes ago. Again, with the citation format, I can find the specific citation, not just what I'm being required to do, such as the American Psychological Association, and I can copy and paste that. However, remember I mentioned that this is not always going to be accurate. This was a perfect example. You can probably see that some of the inaccuracies are right here. So you see that, for example, the main words of the title of the article are capitalized. Well, that's because those words were capitalized in the original bibliographic record from which the citation was generated. But we don't do that in APA. The major words of the title of an article are not capitalized unless they happen to be proper words or proper nouns. So I would have to go back through and I would have to correct most of this citation for it to be 100% accurate. So again, you can use the citations or the citation generators in different databases, but really make sure that you are proofreading 100% because you don't want to get caught in any of those inaccuracies, particularly when you're writing at this level. I went back to databases again because see now on all subjects in my A to Z list, there are two that I do want to highlight, but I also want to highlight something else at the library's webpage. This is going to get a little bit more now into a few years or a couple of years down the road. But you want to start thinking about this now. When you start thinking about what you might want to propose for a dissertation, one thing that is very handy to do is to see what's already been written about a particular topic, and in the case of Emporia State University, the format of a dissertation, how it should look, how it should be written, what would the expectations be for a specific Ph.D. program in SLIM. One way of doing that is to go to two different databases that we have access to and something else I'm going to show you. So click on the letter D. We have a set called Citations and Theses at Emporia State University. I think I'm going to go to an advanced search. This will be exactly as it says. Cutoff date I have found is 2012. The invitations and theses that have been released to the ProQuest site is where we do file dissertations and theses. Up to 2012, that have been written at Emporia State University can indeed be found in here. And I can search by a specific author, I can search by a specific abstract, I can search by a subject heading, also search by subject options as an advisor, a committee member, department, and so forth. What you can do too is click on the browse option. I've been playing around with this and I've kind of enjoyed what I've been finding here. So if I click on the letter L, and I scroll down to librarians or library science, and I click on View 23 Documents, these are dissertations were written for the PhD program that have been categorized under broader tag or the broader heading of library science. And I really enjoy these because some of these will look very familiar to Dr. Now. But what I like about these is that I can do two things with them. For one, I can just see what's written. I can see the variety of topics. For three, I could look at any of these that would probably catch my interest. I'm going to go to Scott, because I remember when he wrote this back in 2008. This is Scott's dissertation on the information-seeking processes of genealogists. And when I click on the full text, I don't want to print out everything. I can download this PDF onto my computer or onto a flash drive. And as that loads, I'll be reading the entire dissertation. As I mentioned, think about this. See how that looks? Give you a good way of seeing the format. So you see we sign off on the dissertation. The abstract of the dissertation, this is something that you will be filing, believe it or not, in a few years. That will let you see here are the acknowledgements, table of contents, and so forth. So I really encourage you to browse through the dissertations and theses at Emporia State University database, because again, you'll be able to take a look and you can check on the different topics that have been covered over the years with dissertations. But again, you can also see from more of a meta standpoint the way that a dissertation actually is created, the way that it looks, the structure. And I think that can really help you once you start kind of thinking a little bit more about what you want to do. It's already been done out there. The second one I wanted to show you is actually under the letter P. So we looked at the dissertations and theses specifically from Emporia State University. If I look at an even broader overview, we go to the ProQuest Dissertations and Theses Global database. So the difference is that this one, again going with an advanced search, Dissertations and Theses Global database is going to be really pretty much everything that people have written for colleges and universities over the years, and the full text of the dissertations and theses that have been put into the ProQuest database. So I could go to this one if I wanted a more, indeed, global overview. So I might want to see, I'm going to do a rather broad search here, because I do want to allow time for questions as well. But I am really curious to see what dissertations and theses have been written about information literacy. And you see that I have quite a few possibilities. I'm not going to limit this anymore. I'm just going to click on search. I indeed give it something to search. Well, there's probably a way of limiting that even more than the 3,000 results, because again, that was a rather broad keyword search, even limiting that to the abstract. But I have a lot of really interesting things here. This one looks kind of neat. The impact of collaboration between faculty and librarians to improve student information literacy skills at an urban community college. That was written from someone at Morgan State University. An interesting coincidence, our new dean of the libraries and archives was most recently at Morgan State University, so I'll have to tell her about that. And again, I gave it quite a bit, so it's kind of waiting to load. But when I clicked on that link and when that comes up, it's going to give me the same thing that we saw in the Emporia State University dissertations and theses. So again, I can look at this dissertation. I could download the PDF if I wanted to. It looks like it's been cited by one person in terms of a cited reference. This is interesting too. You see that And again, this is something that's really going to be important to pay attention to when you start getting into a proposal stage. We have kind of a literature review, the methodology, the research design, the actual findings, discussion, conclusions, implications, and recommendations, and then finally references. So again, you can use this to find out who else has been doing research on your topic, but as I mentioned, the actual structure of a dissertation. So I would highly recommend you use those two resources. The final one, the library's webpage. And this is something I really want to make sure that you know about as incoming PhD students. There is a link right here at the front of the library's webpage that says Explore Our Institutional Repository. This is the Emporia State Institutional Repository Collection, or ESIRC. So if you ever hear Dr. Dow or any other SLIM faculty refer to ESIRC and you think, what is that? This is what it is. It's the Institutional Repository Collection. Among other documents that are in here are dissertations and theses. So dissertations that have been written, published here at Emporia State University since 2012 will be actually housed in this institutional repository collection. And Dr. Dow, there's Padma. So that's kind of exciting to see. So if I click on this link, this is one of our most recent dissertations from our most recent graduates, which is very exciting. And when I click on View or Open, this will allow me to have this dissertation. So again, if you are looking for dissertation theses that were written here at Emporia State University after 2012, go to this link, Explore Our Institutional Repository. So just a really quick overview of the resources that are a little bit more targeted and focused toward PhD students. One thing that I have mentioned, and looking at our time, and I don't want to run out of time for any questions that you may have in your chat that you can send to me, but if you are interested in the way organizing your information when you start doing your research, not only for your dissertation proposal, but for everything else you're going to be doing for your PhD classes, you might want to use something called Zotero. And this may sound familiar to some of you. If it does not, Zotero is a bibliographic management software program. It's free to install and download. You can use it with Firefox, and you can also use it with Google Chrome. But what it does is it lets you organize, literally import citations from databases, from our library catalog, from websites, from YouTube, basically anything online. You can also scan in barcodes with a separate barcode reader, and that would be for barcodes that are on the backs of books, if you're at a bookstore or something like that. It'll let you organize and manage your information a lot more effectively in folders or collections. Zotero also integrates with Microsoft Word. If any of you are interested in learning a little bit more about Zotero, I'd be happy to do some work one-on-one with you. I do have a Zotero tutorial, but I'm not going to show that to you because, quite frankly, I need to take the time to update that a little bit more. So again, if any of you are ever interested in Zotero, please let me know, and I would be more than happy to help you with that, particularly at this level. I'm going to stop sharing of my screen now and go back here. At this point, I'm going to look at my chat box. What questions are out there that you have or anything you would like to know a little bit more about? All Oh, great question. What special sessions will you offer this semester? Well, it's a great question. The library is partnering a little bit more with graduate school. We've done in-person workshops in the past on aspects such as Zotero, APA style, doing a literature review, and so forth. Up to this point, those have been in-person sessions, which doesn't work very well when they're not actually in Emporia. So we're working very closely with the graduate school to see what we can do on maybe doing some of those sessions, hopefully this semester. We'll get this advertised that we would actually be able to present through the Zoom format so that you could log in, you could watch this, it would be recorded, and then you could participate a little bit more. So I would stay tuned. We don't have anything particularly scheduled as yet, but we are really working on that technologically to see if that can happen. But again, if you have any specific questions, really just right away about Zotero, APA style, doing research, let me know. Awesome. I hope we can get that going as soon as possible. I'm pretty excited about that. Other questions out there? I know it's a lot of information to take in. That I promised that I would do is give you my contact information. And what I'm going to do right now is share my screen again with you. And I'm going to go back over here to our library's webpage. I'm going to click on About and click on About Us. And I'm going to click down here on Library Directory. I don't expect you to follow all of this right off the bat. I'm just going to scroll down here. My title is Director of Assessment, but if you were to click on this link, and it was linked to your email on your own computer, you can email me at ckane1, C-K-A-N-E 1, at emporia.edu, ckane1 at emporia.edu. And if you would call me, you have voicemail, just in case I'm not in my office. All you would need to do is call 620-341, then my extension after that, 5480, 620-341-5480. If you do happen to be there, leave me a voicemail with some contact information, and I will be more than happy to follow up with you. As I mentioned, I would be also very happy, since the majority of you are not going to be on campus, I'm sure, to set up one of these Zoom appointments with you. We can share some screens back and forth if you're having any problems doing research, or you just want a quick overview. It's tarot, APA style, anything else. That is what I'm here for. I'm going to. Are there any other questions that are out there right now? I know you have probably quite a bit to accomplish this afternoon as well, but I want to make sure I'm covering everything. Oh, awesome question. What I'm going to do right after we finish this is stop the recording and get this uploaded on YouTube. And then, Dr. Val, if this will be okay with you, probably either later this afternoon or first thing tomorrow morning, I will send you the YouTube link, and then you can put it in a Canvas course, and that can be available for everybody. Do you have a specific Canvas course for this Ph.D. orientation or introduction? Okay, LI900. I thought, I wanted to make sure that I had the right one on LI900. All we have to do is, I will let that do its thing on rendering this afternoon, and I will get that link then, like I said, either later today or first thing tomorrow, and then you can just take a look at that again. Happy to do that. Other questions? know that it's a lot of information, and you might still feel a little bit overwhelmed by the time you finish this afternoon and then kind of take a break tonight and take a breather. Again, please do not hesitate to contact me. And I really appreciate being able to share this information with you. At this point, then, Dr. Dow, if nothing else is coming up, awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm going to go ahead and sign off